So what we typically recommend is that older adults try to avoid the outdoors from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. during those super hot days. So when you're wanting to get outside, get up, get out there early, or wait until it starts to cool off in the evening. So we want just short periods of time if you have to go out during the hottest part of the day. But in the morning and the later evening, please enjoy the outdoors, get out and explore nature and do all of the fun things we like to do outside in the summer. So be prepared, be proactive, be drinking fluids throughout the day, but we can also be reactive when we notice we're getting a little overheated. It's probably time to get in the car and cool off.
As the summer heat continues, it's important to remember that we all need to stay cool and hydrated on hot days. This is especially true for people aged 65 years or older. According to the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, older adults are more prone to heat-related health problems. They don't adjust as well as young people to sudden changes in temperatures, are more likely to have a chronic medical condition that changes normal body responses to heat, and are more likely to take prescription medicines that affect the body's ability to control its temperature or sweat. On today's Sound Living, heat and older adults. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wickman. K-State Research and Extension Adult Development and Aging Specialist Erin Martinez says there are steps that older adults can take that will allow them to remain active and socially connected. Erin, they always talk about it's not the heat, it's the humidity, but in Kansas it's really the heat and the humidity that makes things almost unbearable at times in the summer. And when it comes to older adults, they face some challenges that some other people may not face.
Oh, absolutely. And this summer, it is hot, hot, hot. So there's a lot to be paying attention to when it comes to keeping cool, especially for older adults. As we get older, we know that sometimes our bodies don't work as well as they once did. And that's the same for how we regulate heat, even how we're able to produce sweat and our heart rate and all the medications we might be on. So yes, there's a lot of considerations and some complications.
Is there a point where this sets in, or is this something that just kind of happens gradually as we age?
It definitely happens gradually, and then it's also determined by a lot of different factors. So, for example, some medications can increase your heart rate a little bit more, or maybe even make you less likely to sweat, and so that impacts your body's ability to regulate temperature. So medications have a lot to do with it, but there is some natural declines in our ability to regulate our body temperature as we get older, particularly when we're thinking about extreme heat.
When we talk about the medication side of it, what do we need to know? What should we be looking for?
So definitely start by talking with your doctor or pharmacist about what types of side effects you might expect from the medications you're on. And then if you're experiencing side effects, talk to them about it and see if maybe there's an adjustment that can be made, whether that's with your medication or maybe we just need to increase our water intake and stay cool a little bit longer throughout the day.
This is especially important if you've gotten onto a new medication to make sure that it's going to work with your other medications.
Oh, yes. We oftentimes see that older adults who maybe start a new medication, it can have a little interaction with other meds, and then, we start to feel a little different, or sometimes our bodies just have to get used to a medication, and then we'll be feeling fine. And so, yes, it can definitely disrupt our equilibrium a little bit when we start a new medication. So talk with your doctor about that and see if this is just going to be an adjustment period or perhaps if this medication just isn't going to work.
I assume it probably depends on what type of medication you're on, but does the length of how long you're exposed to high temperatures play a role as well?
Absolutely. So short periods of time, our bodies are able to typically manage that a little bit better. So what we typically recommend is that older adults try to avoid the outdoors from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. during those super hot days. So when you're wanting to get outside, get up, get out there early, or wait until it starts to cool off in the evening. So we want just short periods of time if you have to go out during the hottest part of the day. But in the morning and the later evening, please enjoy the outdoors, get out and explore nature and do all of the fun things we like to do outside in the summer.
I know a lot of people spend that early morning hours in the garden, so that's one thing they can do too that also gets a little bit of exercise.
Yeah, gardening is a wonderful thing to engage in for our bodies at any age. So not only are we getting that physical activity, we're doing fine motor skills and, gross motor skills. We're working our bodies and our muscles in all sorts of ways, but we're also then really increasing our nutrition and the foods that we're eating as well when we're harvesting and enjoying things from our gardens. So the morning is an excellent time to go out there and, engage in that physical activity, tend to the garden, and then reap the rewards of that once it's fully grown and ready to be harvested.
Some of the clothing that we wear can also determine how well we handle the heat.
Yeah, so it's sort of funny because we think, summertime we should wear less clothes or, a tank top instead of a t-shirt. But sometimes wearing a very thin, lightweight, loose, long-sleeve shirt is really your best bet because that's protecting you from the sun. It's loose, so it's keeping you cool. And the fabrics that they have now are so fancy with the cooling technology. And so finding something like that is a good option for you. But just remember, I know this was an issue with my dad. He was always cold. And so in the summertime, he would go outside in a sweater. And we're like, Dad, we got to take the sweater off. So making sure that we're making that transition from indoor to outdoor clothing is important as well.
That's a good point. You talk about indoor temperature, and sometimes we do get the inside temperature really, really cool so that we're comfortable, and then we go outside and we kind of have that blast of hot air. So maybe move the thermostat up a little bit inside too?
Yeah, I think that helps to sort of lessen the harshness of the transition from inside to outside and, saves you some money on the electric bill too.
Always looking to do that. Also, we need to make sure that we're staying hydrated, right?
Absolutely. So that is a key. And that's one thing that we see with many older adults is that they are not drinking as many fluids as they should be. Sometimes we might just not feel thirsty or we're not feeling thirsty until we're reaching the point of dehydration. So it's really important with older adults that we're encouraging fluid intake across and throughout the day and really maintaining that consistency of intake and not waiting until we're totally dying of thirst to really get a drink. And so offering fluids throughout the day, we had to do this with my dad who suffered from dementia and try to keep him hydrated frequently and offering foods like watermelon or brothy soups, those sorts of things to keep that hydration up.
Good point. There are a lot of foods that have a high concentration of water, so if you can work those into your diet, that helps too.
Oh, absolutely, because then it's not, trying to get Dad to drink another cup of water. Instead, we're offering him some watermelon, which is a different choice. And so when we're thinking about being caregivers of older adults who might have dementia or other cognitive impairments, there's some times where we need to get creative. But for our typical community-dwelling older adults that are doing just fine, make sure that you're keeping that water intake up.
You mentioned that kind of staying out of the heat during 10 and 4. There are some other things we could do, though, to still get out during that time if we can hit some of the other areas around town that do have air conditioning.
Yeah, so a lot of folks like to walk indoors in the winter, but also walking indoors during the summertime is an excellent option. So utilizing your community facilities, if you have a mall in your community or another recreation center that you can utilize and enjoy, definitely keep up your activity, look for other things to do, but try to make sure they're air conditioned.
We talk a lot about social isolation, and this is something we want to avoid even during those hot weather stretches. So going to like the library or doing some other things with friends can make sure that you're still maybe avoiding the heat, but you're also making sure that you're staying in contact with others.
Absolutely. So definitely take advantage of the opportunities that are available to you as an older adult in your community. So going to those programs at the library or your local extension office, but also taking advantage of the meals and opportunities for programs and engagement at senior centers as well. Those are air-conditioned, wonderful buildings with lots of individuals there who are just like you and ready to have some social interaction, engage in some games or puzzles or learning new things, trying new things. Definitely still stay engaged, even though we need to stay out of the heat from that 10 to 4 range.
We also want to make sure that we're checking on elderly neighbors just to make sure that they're doing okay.
Yeah, so definitely increasing the rate in which we're checking in on our neighbors is important during severe weather and extreme weather. So whether it's super hot or super cold, we want to make sure that we're checking in. We never know when an air conditioner is going to break, and maybe they're too embarrassed or worried about what it could cost to fix it, or they're just not sure how to fix it. And so they're not going to fix it, and then it ends up getting smoking hot in their house. We need to avoid that. So increasing the rate at which we're checking on folks, pulling in more people throughout the community, more neighbors to go in and check is an excellent idea. So even if you're caregiving from afar, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help for individuals to check on your loved ones.
I know sometimes it's difficult to have those conversations with parents, but just kind of the regular check-in lets you know what's going on.
Yeah, so even if you're just calling to say, hey, did you hear about, the sports team last night or something like that, it doesn't have to be a, hey, I'm calling to check on you because I'm worried. Instead, we can frame it a little bit differently and put a more positive and fun spin on it, really just calling to say hello, see what's new and that sort of thing. But making sure that we're checking in is so important for that social isolation, that loneliness, and reducing all of those risks, but also making sure that we're just taking care of one another.
Grandparents often like to go see the kids playing sports, but this time of year it can be difficult. So maybe instead of going to the 5 o'clock game, you wait maybe until they have an 8 or an 8:30 game.
Yeah, so actually I was at my kids' ball game the other night, and I noticed that a group of grandparents showed up at about midway through when the sun went down. And I was like, you know what? That was a smart choice, waiting until it was cooler before you came out to the ball field. So whether it's waiting a little bit later or just taking a couple of extra things could be really helpful. So we always show up with umbrellas, the big golf umbrellas, and sit under those to just stay out of the direct sun. Find a shady tree to sit under. Just make sure that you're prepared and take a water bottle with you.
Yeah, they have a lot of things now that you can do. They have kind of the cool wraps. They have the little fans with a mister. So there's some things you can do, especially if you're only planning to be out for a short time.
Oh, absolutely. And the fabrics that they have now with the clothing, but then also thinking about those cooling towels, those things are miraculous and stay cool for so long. I don't know how they do it, but they're really useful and can really help to bring down your body temperature when you have that wrapped around your neck.
If you do think that maybe something is going wrong, you're not feeling quite right, what should you do?
Well, it really depends on what your body's telling you, but I would first start off by just getting some more to drink and then see if you start to feel a little bit better. But if you're really feeling down and you're getting dizzy or lightheaded or you're really just not feeling good, please don't hesitate to call for help. It might be nothing, but we want to make sure that everyone is safe and as healthy as possible.
I think that's really the whole point here, is making sure that you're doing things that keep you cool, at least as cool as you can, and making sure that you're putting your health first.
Yeah, so be prepared, be proactive, be drinking fluids throughout the day. If you know that you're going to your grandson's ball game later in the night, make sure that you're really increasing your fluids throughout the day in preparation for that. So be proactive. But we can also be reactive when we notice we're getting a little overheated. It's probably time to get in the car and cool off.
And the good thing is this happens to everybody. It's not just older adults that suffer from this. They may have different symptoms, but in a sense, we all suffer from the heat.
Oh, absolutely. I am a mom of 5 kids who are all very active and doing the baseball and softball and all the things right now. And we show up with all the gear to keep everybody cool because it's really just the healthy and comfortable thing to do. So no matter your age, it's so important that we're being prepared to beat the heat.
That's K-State Research and Extension Adult Development and Aging Specialist Erin Martinez. The CDC recommends that older adults and caregivers be familiar with the symptoms associated with heat stress, including muscle cramping, unusually heavy sweating, shortness of breath, dizziness, weakness, and nausea. A few other hot weather safety tips include carrying a water bottle that you can drink from and refill throughout the day, limiting beverages that are high in sugar, sodium, caffeine, and alcohol, and trying to avoid using the stove or oven to cook because it'll make you and your house hotter, and taking cool showers or baths to cool down. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wickman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.